Mom and dad moved out of the town. I was the second child. They needed a little bit bigger of a house. They were originally just shopping for a fence. They ended up buying a whole fence company.
What is up, fence fam? Joe Everest, the fence expert. I love meeting you guys in person, and the thing I love the most is hearing about how you guys got into fencing, the struggles, the trials and tribulations, and how you guys overcame them. Basically, your guys' fence story. But rather than just hoard those stories and keep them to myself, I thought what better way to document them and share them with the world than to record those fence stories, preserve them for generations to come, and share them with you guys, the fence fam. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
What is up, everybody? Joe Everest, the fence expert. Today I've got JD with me that's here to share his fencing story. We actually already recorded it, so I'm excited to share it with you guys. We talk a little bit about how you can go from buying a fence to buying a fence company.
There you go. Yes, sir.
And kind of the journey around the 2008, 2009, and then from there to where you are today.
Yeah.
So without further ado, JD's fence story. JD, would you mind sharing with us your fence story?
You know, so the fence story, it started back in the year 2000. I would have been 5 years old.
Okay.
Really young. Mom and dad moved out of the town. I was the second child. They needed a little bit bigger of a house. They were originally just shopping for a fence. They ended up buying a whole fence company, believe it or not. Yeah. So they ran that from about 2000 to 2008, 2009-ish. That was about the time the economy crashed.
Yeah.
My parents are old anyways, so they just kind of decided, you know, we're just going to shut the business down, go ahead and retire. You know, so I didn't grow up in fencing as in, you know, being out there on the field and stuff, but I grew out, you know, my mom's office was half of my bedroom, you know.
Sure,
The shop was just right outside, you know. I'd be out there with my dad, cleaning vinyl posts, you know, pulling posts, putting them in the CNC machine, just little stuff like that, you know. About the year, it would have been about 3 or 4 years ago, well, let me go back, 4 or 5 years ago, I should say. I was working at a Mexican restaurant, and my boss, he had been to my house a few times, and my parents, they have a laydown yard that's still just full of vinyl material back from when they had the business.
Yeah.
So, you know, he came to me one day and asked me, he said, you know, you got a lot of stuff there. Is there a chance you'd be able to kind of piece together a fence for me? I said, oh, well, yeah, take a look at that, you know. So sure enough, got the help from mom and dad, kind of pieced it together. Built a fence for him that one year, you know. Did I love it? No.
Sure.
Like, it wasn't that bad, no. But did that fence for him that year. He had another house across town. He wanted another fence put in. He referred me to somebody else in the restaurant that we worked with. He said, yeah, you kind of need a fence. JD's parents used to have one. He can probably kind of hook you up.
Nice.
So back home in Washington, you know, we have 6 months of winter just about. You know? So we shut down. So I've got my boss lined up for a second fence. He's referred me to someone else. And then mom, she had a friend that wanted a fence too. So second year, I got 3 fences. And my mom, she suggested it to me. She said, well, you know, really, if you're going to be doing 3 fences, you're going to be making any sort of money off of it like that. You're going to be needing to pay taxes on it. I said, what do you think about just getting an LLC while you're at it? I said, well, you know, yeah, why not? So got the LLC, had that first year where we just did 3 fences. But, you know, I really liked it, and I kind of just ran with it that next fence season. You know, we stayed decently busy, I'd say. It was just me and one crew, you know, kind of a couple guys that worked regularly, a couple guys that were friends, whoever I could get going with me. But this will be our 4th year, and this year we finally were able to run 2 crews. I could say, you know, I've got one guy that's been with me since we started.
Nice.
He's real trustworthy. But, yeah, finally quit the restaurant, and we're going with it full time. We had a real good year this year. You know, we stayed busy. And we got books. Our books are kind of lined up a little bit for next year. We got about a month and a half worth of work, and I'm excited about it. But yeah.
So, a couple questions. How do you go from buying a fence to buying a fence company?
Oh,
that's a little confusing.
I guess you could say that guy that was a good salesman. He was some guy that they were going to buy the fencing from, and he had a couple different businesses himself. And our highway property, it's a few hundred yards, well, a couple hundred yards, I guess. And I guess they were just getting enough material, and he had a little bit extra, you know, kind of said, well, you know, I'm getting ready to shut this down. Kind of talked to my dad about it. My dad, he's a hard worker, you know.
Yeah.
He was a Marine. He's 73 years old, so, you know.
Wow, yeah.
But so he kind of just talked my dad into buying the business, and they kind of ran with it from there, you know.
Interesting, interesting. So 6 months of winter.
Yes.
What happens during that 6 months of winter?
Well, everybody's got to find some other jobs, or they're not eating. You know?
Yeah.
I used to stay busy at the restaurant. This year, I kind of took my time. I've been in Georgia actually the past month and a half.
Okay.
My cousin, he learned pretty much everything from my dad also. He has his own fence company. So I've been in Georgia the past month and a half, came here for Fence Tech, you know.
Yeah.
Gonna do a little bit more vacationing, but, you know, during those 6 months, there's just not a whole lot you can do. Sure. I mean, there are a couple fence companies in our area, because we live right outside of Spokane. It's on the eastern side of the state. There are a couple fence companies that go through the wintertime, but...
Be pretty tough.
Yeah, we've got 24 inches of frost line, and then you got 2 or 3 foot of snow on the ground. You know, I just hate to... You know, if I wouldn't do it, I'm not going to get a crew together and send them out there to do it, you know.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Right? Not asking others to do what you wouldn't want to do.
Yep.
Well, and I think that probably speaks to culture and team building. Right? So what does the 5-year plan look like for Pack Fence?
You know, Pack Pride.
Pack Pride.
Pack Pride. I guess 5-year plan, you know, is really maintain a little bit. Yeah. Also just continue to grow. You know, like I said, I've got my one guy who I consider a crew leader. Yeah. I've got another one, he's younger, he's only 18, but he's a quick learner, you know. Okay. So my plan is just try to, because I've been on the field ever since we've opened. My idea, you know, is to get them on the field where I can be at home, be in our little home office that we have there.
Sure.
To try to grow it and whatnot, you know.
Very good. Very good.
How much we'll grow or how much we can, you know, I don't know.
So what's the goal? So that's a 5-year goal, but let me ask this way. What does success look like? You
know, well, this year, you know, we stayed successful, I guess you could say, with running 1.5 crews, you'd say. We did about 20 fences, you know. Yeah. Nothing too big, you know. But, you know, so now the goal next year is I'd like to double that. I'd like to do 40. Yep. I'd like to have my one crew leader, Johnny. Yep. I'd like to have him staying steady the whole summer. And then me training the other guy up to be a crew leader, too. So, you know, I'd like to do, you know, my cousin, that's what he said, too. He said, well, if your goal's 40, you set your goal to be 50.
Yeah.
If you don't reach 50, if you at least get to 40, you'll still be happy. But so, yeah, you know, you could say my goal is, you know, do 50 fences next year. Sure. Because we've only got, we start in about April, November, we're done. So we've got about 4 or 5 months to really hit it hard.
Really get with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what type of fences does Pack Pride specialize in?
You know, they specialized in vinyl. My parents, when they had the company, they were 80% straight vinyl.
Okay.
You know, so we do a whole lot of vinyl, and I love working with vinyl, you know. I don't know, there's a stigma to it that people outside of fence, they don't get it. That, you know, vinyl, well, that's plastic, you know, that ain't gonna hold up, you know. Sure. But we do a whole lot of vinyl. We do a whole lot of chain link, and I think that's just kind of because it's more cost efficient. Sure. And where we live, you know, that's important to the people. Yeah. A little bit of cedar and a little bit of field fence, you know. Got it. And then kind of, again, asking guys to do something you don't want to do. I don't like doing field fence where you're trucking through people's forests and whatnot. That's fair. You know, that's fair. If that's what the job is, that's what it is. So a little bit of a mixture of everything. Yep. Yes, makes sense. Makes sense. JD, let me ask you, what is your thought on the difference between luck and success? How much of where you are today is based on luck, and how much of it is based on hard work? You know, I'd say it's probably 50-50. Okay. You know, I did luck into it. You know, I didn't start this company from scratch, but I kind of did, you know, because they were closed down for about, you know, decade or so. Yeah. So I lucked into it, you know, by already having my parents who started the business, already had the tools and stuff, have the know-how. But a lot of it's success, you know, you got to work hard, and you got to, my cousin, he always says, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. And, you know, that 6 months out of the year, I feel like I'm paying the cost just about every day. You know? That's especially good. When you're as small as you are and you're the only one doing the office work and that stuff, you know. Very good. Very good. Well, JD, I appreciate you sharing your fencing story with us. No, thank you. Guys, I'm Joe. This is JD. With Pack Pride Fencing. With Pack Pride Fencing. And that's fencing with pride. Yeah. There you go. I like that a lot. Well, JD and I are reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And we'll see you next time.